Whenever I purchase a game in early access, it's with the mindset that I am taking part as an early adopter, an investor to a promise made by an inspirational dev team with a striking vision, not a glorified unpaid QA tester, although it can definitely feel like that sometimes. After all, we're the consumer. We're not in the dev studio with them, nor are we earning that dev studio paycheck. All of this is to say, feedback feeds back into what they've put forward. Now, there's nothing wrong with cultivating ideas, but there's something strangely concerning when it becomes the foundation and perhaps basis of your game design. Speaking of which, I would love to know what a paycheck from Krafton looks like. With that Subnautica debacle drama thing going on, I just see dollar signs and I'm thinking that's generational wealth to me. I mean, is it anything like Raid Shadow Legends money? Which brings us to today's sponsor, nobody. Nope, I've done this joke before, and I'm running on empty, but I needed a segue. Hey folks, welcome in. We've got two dev posts to cover here, one called Kjun Improving Jobs and Careers, and the other, Kjun's letter addressing player feedback and launching the Brainstorm channel, each of which I pulled from their Discord, but let's get started. In this post, we're getting another call to arms. Can you prevent forest fires? No, can you? Can we? The royal we.
What?
Oh my god, why did I write it like this? Anyways, it's about trying to solve and figure out the pesky job system. He says, one of our biggest and most challenging endeavors since the beginning has been implementing active jobs in InZOI. We knew it wouldn't be easy, and after launching the system and applying incremental updates since early access, we now fully understand that this is a long-term effort that simply cannot be rushed. As with any large-scale project in InZOI, it's crucial to align our direction with what players want to experience. That's how we believe development can become efficient and ultimately successful. That's why I'm bringing this question to you today, not with any immediate promises, but to help us set clear, meaningful goals for the future of active jobs. Great, okay, so it's important to keep in mind that they do have a tentative roadmap. Despite what their dev post may have you believe, they're not entirely flailing in the wind here. So we've seen a lot of targets in May making it into the game. We've got things like adoption, new build mode stuffs, create a Zois improvements, relationship improvements, all to a varying degree of success, or your definition of success. Why your definition of success and how come varying? If you looked at the relationship improvements, would you, the player, the early access purchaser, say that the game has drastically improved in that regard? Would you say that Zois feel more interconnected more than ever, so much so that we can cross this one off the list? Or would you say that it's simply, kindly, little itsy bit, move the needle to a slightly improved since their EA release? Would that be enough to cross it off your list? When we talk about outfit updates or create a Zois improvements, are we talking more ways to customize clothing? That clipping between outfits are fixed? Now, if I'm coming off as flippant, then I'm sorry, that's not the goal. What I'm trying to encourage is the idea that sometimes hitting these targets in name alone, rather than taking into account the depth of those targets, actually makes a difference in their roadmap. Now, you're probably thinking, get on with it, January. What does this have to do with improving jobs and careers? Well, hang tight. I've got a point. Just hang on to something. Grab onto a railing.
Wait, let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you something.
For example, if we accept that all of that is done in May, what does that mean for August and October if those May updates feel, a little bit underwhelming? The question then becomes, will we get similar content updates like that in later months? Who can say? They can, obviously. I'm bringing this up because there's a theme we're going to start to see that explains why simply waiting on feedback to govern development is a tough ask, especially when a strong vision is lost. And perhaps just hitting targets like Cahaya, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video, sometimes should just be pushed back. Now, I want to make this clear, I'm not talking about the speed of development here. I'm talking about prioritizing, workshopping in-house, going back to the basics here, and then translating those newfound ideas into more in-depth updates and patches, stuff to build on that ushers in and builds off of previous updates. So when I read something like, as with any large-scale project in InZOI, it's crucial to align our direction with what players want to experience, I gotta push back just a little bit here and instead pose a different question. What do you want us to experience? Because I'm gonna tell you now, if we're leaning on a dwindling, sometimes detached and by and large sporadic player base to feedback our next steps, Well, then I pose this question to the comment section. What do you think will happen? Do you think that'll turn out well? I don't know. Whatever the case, I'm sure the next survey will be an open invitational seeking out greater numbers of feedback instead of reinforcing biases by cherry-picking who to be surveyed. Especially because, you know, it's an early access game and we all paid the same amount of money to be part of the process, which is to say, no voice should be greater than anyone else's because you're in early access. Right? Speaking of questions, Kjun would go on to ask in the post, here's a question, what is the one thing you would like to see improved or changed about the current active job system in InZOI? You can suggest something entirely new or highlight an existing feature you'd like to see improved. Sharing what you already enjoy about the job system is also helpful, as it gives us valuable insight into what's working and worth building on. Alright, so I'm gonna practice caution here because who knows how this game will develop. It's been a roller coaster ride. You know, if the roller coaster was going 5 miles per hour down a residential and taking every wrong turn but the right one. But if you want to chime in with your ideas, hit up their Discord. For me, I'll just say this. Can we get into the studio and code games? For me, I'll just say this. Can we get into the studio and code in game mechanics for ourselves? How do you even sift through these ideas to even match your own vision, especially when you're making such a big deal of community ideas steering development focus? And should our ideas get made, are there residuals? It's like asking, can you just give us gameplay, please? Alright, so I just want to make note of this too. They are very lucky to have the kind of fans that they do. They are giving them a great mix of ideas in their Discord comments, many of which are borrowed ideas from other life sim games, admittedly, but they're at least telling them what they like to play. Who knows just how far any of these suggestions will go, if they'll ever be implemented. I mean, there's also a greater question to ask here, like, does InZOI even have the bones to support such unique ideas? Who knows? Who can say? It drives me nuts to think that you need this much help. Like, you can't just try to think of something fun and then put that in and then workshop on that and then show those concepts and those ideas and then give feedback on that. Like, it's almost like you're starting from ground zero here. Anyways, I'm detracting. Okay, let's get back to the roadmap. We've got confirmation that Cahaya is still on schedule. In a dev post called Kjun's Letter Addressing Player Feedback and Launching the Brainstorm channel, he would go on to say, many players expressed their excitement and expectation for the update after it was revealed. Seeing so much enthusiasm for something we've been working hard on developing has been both encouraging and a reminder of our responsibility toward our community. While Cahaya remains the central focus of the August updates, we'll be making improvements to the game simulation in response to player feedback. Okay, so there it is. Cahaya is still expected for their August updates. Apparently, they're sold on what they have so far. But before we get into that, let's talk about the two key areas that they plan to focus on. Unique Zoi personalities and behavior. We've received feedback from many players regarding the lack of distinctive behavior and traits among different Zois. To address this, we're adding various improvements to make Zoi's unique personality and preferences feel more pronounced. Alright, so they're not telling us how they'll do this. Perhaps they've already workshopped this in-house. Whatever the case, I'm just really glad that they're just not pivoting the idea back to us and saying, feedback? You've got feedback? It's just like they're working on something, okay? So good to know. Who knows what it is? Maybe they'll go about doing this by utilizing a suggestion that someone made to them in an early access survey. Who can say? I mean, they can say. But anyways, I'm gonna hold off until we know more. Next is Zoi goals and player guides. Several players, you know who you are, okay? Several players have expressed difficulty finding out what to do next in the game, largely because key information related to Zoi goals is hidden deep within the UI. Who put it there? Who did it that way? Anyways, we've also received feedback that the lack of meaningful rewards makes fulfilling these goals feel underwhelming. Who knew that could happen? And while InZOI is designed to encourage a wide variety of playstyles, we're working on making the core gameplay loop more clear and engaging. Okay, I mean, I just had to throw a little bit in there. I threw up a little bit of spice because I'm having a lot of fun with this script. I have to, guys. Okay, I have to do this. Otherwise, I don't know. I take it way too seriously, and I'm done taking things seriously because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Anyways. So I'm not sure how they're gonna do that, because let's face it, InZOI's primary issue since the content creators got their hands on this game pre-early access was that. The dev team has already been fed tons of ideas about how to go about this, and I'm talking about generally speaking with making a fun and interesting gameplay loop and working on all the other game mechanics. So perhaps, they'll be coming up with things on their own. Again, wait and see mindset here. I just wish they talked about it more conceptually rather than, just take our word for it. Like, tell us what you're thinking. You're never telling me what you're thinking. Like, what are some of your ideas you have bouncing around? Like, what you like? I'm sorry. Do it like Project Zomboid, where you show us some screenshots of work in progress, talk about how you come up with ideas, how you workshop ideas. Then again, if your idea of workshopping ideas is scanning through Discord messages and tailored surveys, then don't. There's not nearly enough fun pictures to look at. Anyways, let's talk about Cahaya. So Cahaya is a themed island Gatorade. It's a getaway. To bring that experience to life, players will be able to make brief trips to this region while living under a rock. Now, in either Doan or Bliss Bay, we've all had moments where we want to escape the monotony of everyday life. This update will introduce swimming, a key part of any vacation experience. We hope this addition makes your time at Cahaya feel even more immersive and relaxing. Some takeaways here, okay? Is our trip to Cahaya a timed experience? When you start to say things like, to bring that experience to life, players will be able to make brief trips, quote unquote, to this region. It has me worried. I don't know, if it's that restrictive in a way, doesn't that sort of clash with your dollhouse concept? Just a couple of paragraphs ago, we were going, buck wild about how we want to have players with different play styles play through this game like, on autopilot. So why are we being restrictive in this sense? And I know this update will introduce new game mechanics such as swimming, but what's unclear to me is if that mechanic will carry over to the other different cities. It must be. There must, right? As a reminder, on June 20th, there was a post called A Sneak Peek at Cahaya, which said, "We've received a great deal of feedback from players asking for improvements to the job system, but because Cahaya was designed as a resort-themed city, features like jobs and schools didn't quite feel like the right fit. As such, we've made the decision to exclude them from the city entirely. Players instead can enjoy a self-sufficient lifestyle through activities such as farming or fishing." Does that mean certain game mechanics and interactions can only happen in Cahaya? Okay, look, we're gonna talk secrets here. All right, we're gonna spill some tea, but it's just between you and me. All right, don't tell anybody this. I promise what we say next to each other, I'll take it to my grave. If there are certain game mechanics that are restricted to only happen in the vacation world that is Cahaya, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but you don't have that much gameplay to go around. You barely have a gameplay loop. What we have now is so borderline uninteresting that some of the folks still playing InZOI simply do so because there's bare functionality reminiscent to other Sims iterations. But since it's not The Sims, you just kind of feel better about it? I don't know, that's my hypothesis for some folks. Maybe the line of thinking here is that they don't have the time or money or need to make Cahaya a living, playable city. So vacation world it is. Okay, fine. I hope I'm wrong here though. I hope I am just misreading the details, but when you say you can sustain yourself with fishing, well, we have fishing.
Do not anger me, for with these hands, I make fire!
We have fire.
Oh.
We have fishing in the other two cities. How is that different in Cahaya? Or does that mean fishing gameplay is more developed across the board? Are we getting Coral InZOI Island? Anyways, back to the original post, he would go on to say, "We're aware that both adding new content and refining existing gameplay are equally important, which is why our team is working harder than ever. While we can't fix everything overnight, we remain committed to making steady improvements to provide our creators with the experience they desire." All right, fine, that's a positive takeaway, I guess. But again, it's not about speed. It's about I hit my chair. It's about prioritizing and keeping the game interesting enough to remain purposeful throughout early access. It appears that the team believes they can keep on schedule as shown on their roadmap and in tandem work on features like multitasking, group activities, and deeper game mechanics. We might even get a legitimate gameplay loop out of this, who can say? But you know what? At the end of the day, the only thing that matters to me is you and what you guys think. In my last video, you were all amazing and detailed just how much you felt about all of this. What I love the most is that some of you guys felt really comfortable sharing contrary opinion, but in a respectful way. Some of you even brought the heat with your comments, which was a treat to read, not even gonna front. Yeah, that was some of you guys brought real venom to the party. But at the end of the day, it was informed and not reactionary. You guys brought up such interesting insight that made up for the blind spots in my video. So thank you for that. You know, that's what early access is for. It's about speaking up and sometimes being critical of something you're a fan of. Because let's face it, you're the consumer. Your time and buying power is your greatest power. And speaking of time, thanks for sharing some of that time with me. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And I hope to see you in the next video, whatever the next video may be. So until then, I will see you then. Bye for now.
Usually come and they go, but in every time you'll just know it for sure. But I hope